Welcome to Inspire Me Forward. My name is Linda J. Watson, and I am the founder and host of this beautiful series of conversations. This is a space where guests from all walks of life and every corner of the world share their stories. We talk about life, love, and everything in between. And now we are on season 7. Before we dive in, I would like to share that the topics discussed in this season may be sensitive in nature and triggering to some. Please do take care of yourself and seek support as and if needed. So, the title of this group of episodes is Positive Foundations for When Life Throws a Time Shift. There are times in our lives when our relationship with time changes. Sometimes it's a slow burn, sometimes a U-turn. Your perspective of time might evolve into a space where you value it more. Perhaps it speeds up, or maybe it slows down. However you are affected, life does throw time shifts. And in those moments, we are called to look for positive foundations, resources that help us hold our bearings and tend to our resiliency, helping us stay grounded and not float away altogether. This season, we will speak with folks who have experienced those time shifts and stayed upright through the dynamic force, the change, and the landing. We will discuss what kept them standing. What did they hold on to so they could settle in to that new time perspective with a gentle heart and feet firmly on the ground? Welcome to season 7 of Inspire Me Forward. Let's talk time shifts. But before we introduce our guest today, let's take a moment of quiet to land in this space. Let our day go for just a while and be present for the wisdom that is offered in this episode. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And welcome to our 50th episode. Talk about a time shift. Talk about when we started this whole thing and where it is now. So this is an exciting episode, and I am to have Rosanne more with me today to share her journey and her journey of time and how time has shifted for her. So Rosanne, I'll just give you a moment to say hello first.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, where are you from? And
Oops, yeah, that would help. I'm in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, and we just got about 10 centimeters of snow dumped on us yesterday, so just watching it melt.
there's some time for you.
Yes.
So before I give the floor to you, Rosanne, Rosanne is the person that started this idea of life throwing us a time shift.
Hmm.
She was to be my first guest on this season. Life chose that wasn't going to be, and I will let her take you through that. But what what led me to us to this was your sense of community and your sense of support. And I will dig into that a little further as we go, but I was struck that I don't know anybody that has, in a time of need, gathered humans around them like you
Mm,
did, and and kept us all included
mm,
in your journey. I'm not going to assume why, and like I say, we'll dig into that, but it was such a beautiful thing. I think in a time um, where people often push others away, it felt like you had wrapped your arms around everybody and said, "Come here, I need you."
mhm,
And and you've continued to do so, and that is such a, um, it's a gift for us all.
mm,
So thank you for
mm.
thank you for including me in that circle. And
Thank you for being there. Mm.
absolutely. And with that, I'm going to give you the floor to share your journey and how that all support thing, sort of why that was needed. So I will hand the floor to you.
Well, thank you, Linda, for this, and thank you for being who you are, and very strong support for sure during my journey. So, as I said, I'm Rosanne, and I um, my role career-wise is a social worker. So my focus has always been working with families um, who had challenges and many barriers in their lives. And my role is to maintain that unity within family. And so that career carried on. And eventually, 2 years, 3 years ago, I opened up my own practice, counseling practice, and I worked within schools with youth. So uh, that went on, and then there was a change within the community that I was working within, First Nations community, and they took over their own control over their own child and family services. So our agency support wasn't needed any longer. And so that was when I opened up my own practice. And I did well. I enjoyed it. I worked within the schools and worked with First Nations youth who were kind of falling in between the gaps of what of services towards them. So I was able to go into the schools and provide that support for them there. Then in December 2024, beginning of January 2025, I had this nasty cough that I just couldn't get rid of. And usually um, I usually just kind of, I don't go much into doctors unless it's really, really necessary. But this was absolutely driving me crazy. So I made an appointment with my family doctor, and she sent me for a chest x-ray. She said, your chest sounds good, but we'll just send you for an x-ray just to, kind of just make sure everything's good in there. So I went for the x-ray, came back that she must have seen something that she wasn't pleased with, because then I ended up in February, I went for a PET scan. And here in Saskatchewan, and I think in other provinces as well, there you can gain access to your health records. In Saskatchewan, we call it e-health. So I like to know what's going on, and I will dig to find out what's going on. And this was to my detriment this time, because I was sitting at my home. It was a Friday evening, and I thought, oh, I'll just check e-health and see if the results have come back from the PET scan. And so I read about it alone, had a moment of crying because the one word that did stand out to me was carcinoma. I'm not a medical person, but that word I do know. So it uh, it was just there, just like a neon light just flashing, and that's all I could see was carcinoma, carcinoma, and I'm like, oh my gosh. It was in my right lung, and um, so extreme fear. My maternal grandmother and uncle both passed of cancer. So I know what that journey looked like in terms of watching somebody else go through it, watching how it impacted family, how it impacted me. Um, and my thought immediately went to my kids and my grandkids on, how it's going to be for them and how do I even tell them. My daughter lives in BC on the coast, so she's like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour flight from me, and my son lives a 4 hour drive away from me. And it wasn't something that I felt I could wait until we come together because we all work quite a bit and uh, cost for flights and all of that. So I text them and I set up a time to do a group call with the two of them. And so that's what we did. I let them know on a group call, which to me was my preference would have been to have them together, to have that visual and to be able to feel their presence. But I did feel their presence on the call. It was just not what I would have preferred. So um, we kind of, had a talk. I said, well, I've got, a referral to a thoracic surgeon. So I'll let kind of how that goes. Um, the I'm a very I come from a long lineage of strong, independent women. My mother was a single mom who had some not so great relationships. My grandmother, as well, is very strong, and that has been passed on to pretty much every female member in my family. We're very strong and independent. So for me, to be told that that you've got something that you don't have control over. I don't even, I haven't smoked. I was an avid smoker, but I haven't smoked in like 30 plus years. So I kind of figured, okay, well, maybe it has something to do with the smoking. I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's, how do we know where or why cancer invades our body? I started losing a lot of weight. I was down to 115 pounds and I'm 5'8". So that was concerning for me as well as for my kids and family. I live in Saskatoon. I'm the only family member here in Saskatoon. So um, the rest of my family lives in other towns out of province. So uh, the thought of going through it on my own was scary because your family can't just drop everything and come. But I had to learn how to reach out and not only ask but accept help from other people. And like I said, we're very strong, independent women. So to have to do that, um, my mind kind of went, well, like you're down on yourself because you should be able to go through and you should be able to handle this. You've handled a lot worse stuff
Mm.
in terms of relationships and life and work and careers and stuff like that. So, why you should be able to handle this. But I couldn't. I just physically could not. Um, so my daughter came down. Um, and spent a couple weeks with me just after we had found out. And my son, we went down to my son's and spent some time there. So that was really good. Um, we um, when they were both there, that was when the realization was that I needed to be able to reach out. I needed to ask friends for help. I needed to look at what my other options were, both in friends, but also within the medical system, within the systems that offer various supports. I owned a house. It was like a double lot. So there was lots of like yard work in the summer, gardening. I love gardening. There was like shoveling snow in the winter. So thank goodness we were at the end of winter at that last year, not the same this year. Um, and I did as much as I could for as long as I could. My neighbor, who is a teacher, and I was also a counselor within his school system. And him and his wife were fabulous. And the kids, so they would um, the father of the children would come over and he would shovel the snow. The kids would bring me beautiful little treats or, supper plates and things like that. So that was kind of um, the first of accepting that help. Because I'd always be, oh no, I'm good. I can get it done. It would take me a couple days or whatever to, do things. But um, I was able to accept that and then reach out to friends, both here in Saskatoon and far and wide, across many different provinces, because I was lucky to have a big friend base, but we just didn't see each other every day or talk to each other every day. But the relationships were really strong in that we could pick up the phone or text or Zoom, and it was like we had never left. We just kind of picked up where we left off, and that was really um, that was a big help in terms of knowing that the distance doesn't impact that relationship, because you feel pretty alone when you're in this big city all by yourself fighting off something that you can't even see. You can feel it in the sense of physical, emotional, my mental health. But it was that reaching out to friends and having those conversations with them that kept me going. I had a friend in Saskatoon here who was a godsend, bless her soul. Like she attended, so she attended a lot of appointments with me. So, but that's kind of jumping ahead a little bit here. In April of 2025, the thoracic surgeon, we'd done a bunch of medical stuff, and I had to go in and get a right lobectomy. I have to look at my notes to make sure I'm saying it right. So they removed the top third of my lung, which I didn't realize that our lungs are different. On the right hand side, we have 3 sections of lung, and on the left hand side, there's 2, which I didn't know that until this. So I've become quite not well versed, but versed in some of the medical terminology and that. So which is scary because it's not something I really wanted to know. So April 10th, I went in and had the top third of my right lung removed and was in hospital for a couple of days. My daughter was down for that. And my friend, Debbie, was there with my daughter. So that was removed. And then I had to go for chemotherapy. So April till after the lobectomy, April till August, I went for chemo every second week they do 4 cycles. So it was 8 treatments of chemo that I did. And in August, when I was done that, and Debbie was with me every day. She'd pick me up, drop me off, come and get me a couple hours later. Like just an amazing, amazing person who herself was dealing with her own family stuff, but she
Mhm.
took that time. And I don't like I can't thank her enough. Um, invite her for suppers and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
there's just, how do you really thank somebody for um, going through something like that with you? So she was a blessing in disguise for sure. She's part of my family now. She's a sister who, within um, our traditional ways, I'm First Nation. So
Mhm.
that comes into play a bit. And so she came and took us to my appointments. And then my daughter came back once more during the treatment. And it was at that time that I remember clearly her and I were sitting in the backyard and I'm looking around. We're talking about, just all the, fun and family events we'd had at the house and in the yard and the gatherings and stuff. So a little bit of going down that memory lane. And, uh, and then she kind of looked and I was like, okay, here, there's that look like she's got something, important to say. And it was a discussion about future, like how do you feel? Do you think you're going to be able to keep up? Like, we don't know where this is going and stuff. And I'm like, no, I know. I'd had that
Mhm.
conversation in my head many times with myself
Mhm.
as well. Like, am I going to be able to keep up this pace? Because I wasn't able to work. So the, like that, you have that conversation and that realization um, that um, physically, I likely wouldn't be able to keep up with the demands of the house and
Mhm.
financially as well because work had to kind of take a back burner to the physical stuff, which I understood that, but I didn't realize the length or the to what degree that the
Mhm.
work would be cut back because I'm a pretty active person. Work has always been my life and I go 100% into it. So the thought of not being able to work was really scary because that was almost like part of my identity because I would focus on the work sometimes more than on my own well-being.
Mhm.
So I said, no, I said, you're right, Michelle, I need to look at downsizing and selling the house. So end of August, I made the decision that I was going to sell the house. Um, and so I spent September and October um, supposed to be, recovering from chemo because it takes a lot out of your body and your
Mhm.
system and your energy. I spent September and October going through my house, packing, downsizing, and I sold it at towards the end of October. So within 2 months, packed my house,
Mhm.
sold my house, moved, bought a condo, moved in. Um, and I was like, oh, life is grand. This is good, right? Smaller place, but comfortable, nice. And so that was October. I moved in to the condo in November, the first week in November. and and then yeah, uh, then in just kind of getting settled and organized and meeting all new neighbors again.
Mhm.
Moving in was pretty interesting because you're trying to get all your belongings down this hallway,
Mhm.
going up the elevator down the hallway. And I had the best movers ever. Like they were, oh my gosh, they were so good. Like they just had everything in. They placed all the bigger stuff where I wanted it to be placed. And then the neighbors, um, it's like walking down an alley and saying hello, 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 and then just seeing all these little heads peep out from the doorways and stuff. And everybody was wonderful. And they're just like, oh, hi, welcome to the building. Are you just moving in? Yeah, as you're
Mhm.
moving boxes down the hallway. Yes, I am. And So it felt good. It felt inviting. It felt, the first time I saw the condo was the same feeling that I had when I purchased the house the first
Mhm.
day when I went in to look at it. It was just, there was like this, calmness that washed over me, like an
Nice.
inviting. There was a sense of, um, what do you, a familiarity with
Hmm.
it without even knowing, and not like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's the first time you walk into a house. How can you have familiarity with a place that you've never been in
Never
before?
been.
But it was there, and it was really super strong. And
Mm.
that was in August, because when my daughter and I when I finalized and said, no, I'm going to put it up for sale. So we started looking at areas in the city that, might be interesting or a place to move to. And the condo that I'm in now was the only one on the day that we were looking that was having an open house. So we thought, oh, okay, well, we'll go check it out. So we came here and checked it out, and that familiarity wave came in, and I'm like, oh no, this is good. I like this one.
Wow.
And so, so we kind of looked, and it was weird, because the things that caught my eye was things like the bars in the bathroom. Like, they were already set up there, and I know those bars because we put them into my house when mom moved in with me.
Mm.
And so I knew those bars, and I'm like, okay, well, I think at that time I was, what, 67, 66, 67. And, you're going to need those
Mm.
one day. This will save you from having to get them put in
Put them in.
yourself. So I'm like, okay, well, those are good. And it had a good setup, a good layout and stuff.
Mm.
So, um, talked to the real estate guy, and I said, this is kind of where I want to be. And he said, well, yes, it's for sale. So he said, let's go take a look. And I thought, okay, well, we'll go and look with him, because from a realtor's eye, and he pointed out things that I never even thought of, such
Mm.
as the vent for the over the range hood and stuff, to
Mm.
make sure that it's vented out and not just, venting in and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, never thought of that. Condo fees, having forced heat versus heating water heat, like
Mm.
the expenses of that. And this one was forced heat, so that was good. And so the house went up for sale, had some showings, had one offer, but then it fell through. And I'm like, oh my God. And I kept looking at this place, and yep, it was still for sale, still available. Well, then it came to the point where somebody had put in an offer. I was like, darn. So
Mm.
talked to the real estate. We went and looked, and nothing felt the way that this place felt
Mhm.
when I came here. And thank goodness that offer fell through. And the condo waited for me. It waited. I'm pretty darn
Wow.
sure. Like, I have that feeling that it waited, because my house did finally sell. This place was available. We put in the offer, it was accepted. And November 7th, I moved in. So that was good. Feeling good. Energy was good. Getting everything. My daughter and son both came down and helped with the move and getting everything set up. My daughter's like very artistic, and she hung up all the pictures, and
Mm.
it was great. So that was good. December rolls around, and I wasn't feeling quite right. Like, I was forgetting a lot of stuff. And then I was thinking, am I getting dementia? Because I'd
Mm.
start like forgetting stuff. And then January wasn't getting any better. Um, in February, I got a call from where they said was the bank. And they were like, oh, this is, my bank calling. And it was actually my bank, saying that my credit card and my bank account had been compromised. And I'm like, oh, shoot, like, that's no good. And I don't fall into those things usually. Like,
Mhm.
I'm pretty on top of like the scammers and things like that, but not this time. I
Mm.
was like, oh my gosh, well, that's not okay. And he's like, have you shopped at the Shoppers Drug Mart, and have you shopped over here and there? And I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm kind of thinking, well, how does he know that? And he's, well, it shows up on your credit cards. And so I followed his orders and I went and got a bunch of gift cards, Apple gift cards, which I guess if you scratch
Mm.
off the back and give that number to somebody, they can deposit it into their own Apple account. And I had no
Right.
idea about
Mm.
that. So they got me for $5,000. And I was talking to my daughter after, and I said, I can't believe this. And she's like, Mom, don't answer the phone for that guy. Like, don't, like, that's a scam. And I'm like, well, I didn't know. So my friend, Debbie, bless her soul, we went to the bank to report the scam and see if there was any kind of insurance on the credit card. There wasn't because if you tap the card, I guess they figured that, like you were actually there doing it.
Mm.
So, and she was looking at me and she said, like, you don't look right. And I said, I don't feel great. I says, I think I'm going to go sit down. She says, no, because we're in line. It's a long line up. She said, just hang on a little bit more. So we did. We got up there and canceled everything and stuff. And then she was looking at me and she's texting. And she said, like, your face is drooping. I'm like, what do you mean my face is drooping? This is after we're in the car. And she said, like, I don't think things are look like something's wrong. You're not looking right. And she got a hold of, she told me this after that she had been texting my daughter to say, you need to get here. And Michelle's like, your mom's not doing good. And Michelle was like, well, when? And Debbie's like, yesterday you should be here, she said. So my
Mm.
daughter
Yeah.
flew in
Yeah.
the next day. We went to my family doctor because I had been having some headaches. There was some forgetfulness. I was forgetting to eat. I was forgetting to go to work, which is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would get groceries, and I was still driving. And I would get groceries and I wouldn't put them away. I would just, like, I was just totally exhausted. So we went to my family doctor. I had done some Googling myself, so I kind of figured out what was going on. And we went to my family doctor, and she said, well, she said, we're going to book you for a CT scan because the symptoms could be a brain tumor or brain cancer. I'm like, oh, okay. And so they ordered it, and the CT scan wasn't till like a month down the road. And my daughter's like, nope, that's not good.
Good enough.
And she said, like, Mom, how come you weren't so shocked by what your doctor said? I said, because I Googled it and I knew what she was talking about because those were the symptoms I was having, and that's what it said. But I needed her to confirm it. So I said, I kind of knew what
Mm-hmm.
was going on. Um, and so my doctor phoned my hematologist, and we had an appointment set up with him for the next day at the hospital. And so we talked to him about the symptoms and everything. And he phoned to the CT scan in the hospital. And all I remember him saying was, yes, it is acute. And then it's another word, acute. Okay, I know that means it's serious, right? So um, he said the only way that you're going to be able to get this scan sooner than what you've got is if you are admitted to the hospital. I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'll get admitted. So that was February 23rd, February 24th. Was the day that I was admitted to the hospital. And February 27th, I was in the OR having emergency brain surgery to remove the tumor. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, holy man. And I was in the hallway, which was freaky enough as it was. It's like kind of weird in the middle of the night being in a hallway in a hospital. Like there's so many noises and sounds. And I was talking with my kids and like, Mom, that's not really going on. Like, and I'm like, no, I'm sure it is, right? but I just wasn't
Oh,
thinking properly. And my mind was just like some stuff, yes, it was going on, the noises and hearing doors opening and closing and stuff
yeah,
like that. But they just said, like, you just need to relax, you need to rest. So then the hospital gave me these, like a mask that you put over your
mhm,
eyes so it's dark and you
yeah,
can
yeah,
sleep because the lights are already on and stuff like that. So I was in there February 24th. They did the emergency surgery. Um, I had uh, um, in contact with not everybody that I had contacted with when I had the lung surgery because and I remember another good friend who lives on the island
mhm,
said, thank you for sharing, but please be mindful that when you're sharing and opening up that the being having to maintain those updates with that many people can be tiring for you as well. And the focus needs to be you, not everybody else right now. So I thought, no, that's, a good point, sort of a thing. So
mhm,
I, um, I didn't pick and choose between friends, but
mhm,
I had to take a really close look of, um, you know, I guess looking at the good intentions of everybody
mhm,
and for me, like what is my purpose of updating casual acquaintances
yeah,
to people who I do maintain regular contacts with and stuff.
mhm,
So it wasn't that I didn't value the friendships of everybody because everybody did pull together and
mhm,
they were there for me and they did offer me supports and things like that. And if I had conversations with them after that, I would
mhm,
give them updates and stuff, but I
mhm,
wasn't going like I wasn't expelling my energy because it
mhm,
was very critical that I did rest and did maintain
mhm,
um, that focus on me because I did have to gain that energy back. Chemo takes a lot out of you physically
mhm, mhm,
and even mentally because I remember the first day I went in for chemotherapy, I had no idea what to expect.
mhm,
And I remember walking in, and you can't bring anybody with you because there's not enough room for everybody. If everybody brought a support person
sure,
with them, but my friend did come in the first time with me because they said, no, that's okay for this time because it is, scary. And I remember walking in and seeing 4 rooms with 6 chairs, 6 or 7 chairs in each room. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I feel like I'm walking into the barn to be milked because we
mhm,
lived on a farm for a period. My aunt and uncle had a
mhm,
farm. We would go out and help her milk, and that's how it was. Like you'd walk into the barn. There was all these stalls for people or for the cows to be in,
mhm,
and that's what I felt like. I felt like I was this being that was going into this little stall
mhm,
and milk and like you get intravenous and everything and you're there for 4 hours
wow,
drip 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 and like just you're seeing all these people who are at different stages and so it was really intimidating um, and scary um, the one day there was another time where we were in this waiting room because my blood work, you have to get blood work every week because there's certain levels that have to be, or certain tests where you have to be at a certain level, or
yeah,
they won't do your chemo, which then sets you back. And I had plans, I had goals, I had a schedule on
mhm,
my schedule that I needed to be done by because in September, my thought was I would be going back to work. So I needed to be done by the end of August
yeah,
so that I could go back to work. So damn it, this had to be done.
yeah,
And so they sent me for blood work again. They said, well, just go check because maybe they'll be higher and, up to where it needs to be. So I'm waiting and waiting in the waiting room. And I was there for like 2, probably 3 hours by the time they get all the blood work and the results back. And I'm getting nervous and more nervous and more nervous. My daughter was with me that time. She went down because she had a meeting. So her job was good. She could do it remotely.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting in the waiting room and I was starting to get super anxious. And it was actually, Linda, your meditation
Mhm.
on the breathing that I said, wait a minute, why don't I try this? You know?
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there and was doing the meditation as Linda had taught about the breathing through your mind, through your heart, through your lungs, and then just feeling really grounded and breathing out through the feet. And it was like, holy crap, all of a sudden it was like my feet were just, I could feel everything leaving. And I was like, holy shoot. I hadn't never focused on breathing that much as I did
Really?
that
Wow.
day. So that I can say was my first experience at really seeing the value of the breathing and the meditation and just that trust in your body to be able to do what it needs to do. So that was a really good feeling. And when I went in for the brain tumor surgery, so like I said earlier, I'm First Nation, but I wasn't brought up in our culture. My grandparents, so I'm First Nation on my grandfather's side from BC. And so my grandparents divorced. My grandmother needed to go to work to be able to support her 3 children. And that was at the time when the residential schools were around. So she placed all 3 of her children in a residential school because she had no idea of, she thought they'd be safe there.
Mhm.
And they weren't. So they were in the residential school for 6 or 7 years while she went to go cook on the logging camps. So we weren't raised within a culture, which that in itself was, uh, it's like that loss of identity. We were able
Mhm.
to um, get our status when the laws changed for
Mhm.
uh, Bill C-31, and my grandfather said, like, you guys need to go, like, this is your right.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of identity crisis, like later in life for me, and that kind of stuck with me. So when uh, I worked predominantly within First Nations communities, and so gained a lot of insight and knowledge from the elders and from the families that I worked with, challenged by the families, but also a big uh, learning curve and learning on both sides, them learning from me learning from them. So that was really good. But when I went in was going the day that I was going in for the surgery, I had one of my other good friends, Dorothea, who came in and she, we did a smudging ceremony in the smudging room within the hospital. And then she taught my daughter, walked my daughter through getting a little medicine bundle ready for me. So the stone, there was a stone that was placed in for the grandfathers, and then sweetgrass, tobacco, sage, and cedar, because we're BC, so ours is cedar.
Yeah.
Um, and so we had that all in there. And then I put sage in the bottom of my sock. Sage is the women's healing. And so when we did that, and um, at the end of the smudging ceremony, again, I had this, like, there was weights on my feet, and I knew I was going to be okay because there was nothing and no one that could, it felt like I had cement blocks on my feet. Like, that's how grounded I felt.
Mhm.
And I knew that I was going to be okay. It was scary, but I when I talked with the doctors and the anesthesiologists and the nurse and everything, I said, like, I'm wearing my socks in. You can't take them off because I got sage in there, which is a
Mhm.
protection. and I'm taking my medicine bundle in with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, yep, no worries. So I go into the operating room. I got my socks on. Yep. And then I'm like, oh, my medicine bundle, like my bag. I said it was in my house coat pocket, which I have
Mm-hmm.
because it's so cold in there. And so the nurse ran out. She got my little
Oh,
medicine
really?
bundle and we tucked it under my right side, which was the same side that I had the lung surgery on was, and that's the side that the tumor was on.
Mm-hmm.
And went in. I remember waking up and I was trying to talk and I couldn't because they have the ventilator down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, just, you're okay, you're awake, we're just going to take you out. And so I went in and I was back home by March 4th. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's good. And my daughter again stayed, and there was no way I could do work at all.
Yeah.
So she got a hold of all my clients in the schools and let the schools know what was going on. Um, we got made arrangements like I couldn't cook. I mean, well, I can cook, but I just couldn't because I wasn't physically able
Yeah.
to, nor did anybody trust me using the stove
Yeah.
because of the forgetfulness.
Yeah.
So my daughter, we got some really good resources from the hospital. I know in a lot of places, hospitals and nurses and everybody are getting a lot of flack because of all the wait times and stuff. And I made a point with the surgeons, the doctors, and everything, and letting them know that I really appreciate everything you've done.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do amazing under tough conditions, and I just
Mm-hmm.
want you to know that I appreciate it. So, gratitude became a really important
Mm-hmm.
part for me. Like, um, just being grateful every day. Like, I would um, there were ceremonies that were done for me in different
Mm-hmm.
communities that I had worked with, and the people did ceremonies for me. There was ceremonies out in BC, out east, like here in like just outside of Saskatoon. And so that spirituality became something really, really important for me. Being able to um, express that gratitude and be able to be thankful for every day that I get to swing my legs over the bed and actually feel the hardwood floors. And um, so to be able to come out of all of that and be okay, be, standing and walking and talking. And I can now drive again, which is great
Nice.
because driving is important to me. Um, but that gratitude and being able to have that belief in the higher beings, whatever that may be,
Mm-hmm.
for people. For me, it's the creator. So being able to be thankful to the creator, to my spiritual, my healers, my guides, my angels, my ancestors, like those family members who have passed on before me, like I can feel them and I know they're here. So that's really important, and to be thankful for each and every day. Like there was a whole mindset change because, like I say, like I was a workaholic. Like I worked lots and I focused on everybody else and I didn't really focus on me. But now it's like to have, like I said, my daughter got arrangements for help to come in to be
Yeah.
with me
Yeah.
for a month. They were here every day from 1 till 5. They cook supper. And for me, that took everything in my power to have somebody come into my house every day and do stuff for me and to just sit and rest and take care of my body, take care of my mind. Um, and I was able to, after that month, my health went. And I have to slowly, just gradually get back to, I'll never get back to where I was before. And I've accepted that, but that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because now I need to get used to the new me. I need to get used to um, retirement, like full on retirement, because I had to close down my practice.
Mhm.
which hurt a lot because I really enjoyed working with the youth and being there with them. Haven't quite figured out what I'll do now. I do have a little garden plot though within
Yeah.
the community that I'm in, so I'll do some gardening this year, which so I can still get my feet in the dirt and hands in the
Absolutely.
ground, those sorts of things. And so it's yeah, just
Hmm.
trusting in your gut and listening to your
Hmm.
body, like pay attention to it because it'll tell you if there's something not going on that's,
Exactly.
that shouldn't
Yeah.
be. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how are you feeling now and let's go there and then we'll go back to some broader
Um,
stuff. How are you feeling now and where are you headed?
yeah. Now I'm feeling, I guess rejuvenated because part of the fear was not seeing my kids, the
Mm-hmm.
possibility or that chance of not being able to
Sure.
see my kids, not being able to spend time with my grandkids.
Hmm.
So now I'm I'm now I value that time spent with
Hmm.
family
Hmm.
more. I value the time spent with friends and anytime I get to engage with friends,
Hmm.
no matter where they are. Um, really putting that in, a bigger value and importance on really just listening to, the conversations and listening to my body. Still trying to figure out, like, I still want to be able to be a part of community and to be able to do something. I don't know quite
Mm-hmm.
yet what that's going to look like. I've taken on some adventures with you,
Hmm.
Linda, and
Hmm.
but life kind of got in the way of that. The health issues sort of got in the way of that to be able to really grasp onto that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that leaving that work part was a big
Big
change for
step.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how I identified myself with, oh, so what have you been up to? What are you doing? And it always went back to work. And
It
one of
does,
my
doesn't it? Yeah.
supervisors,
Yeah.
um, old supervisors, who were still in contact, and she as well would always phone in and check and stuff like that. And one of the things she had said to me, this would be probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and it hits like it made a big impact now because I would look back at it and she'd say like, yeah, okay, your work, yeah, that sounds good, but what about you? What are you up to? How are you doing? What are,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
tell me about you, not your work, so I would always identify myself through work. So now it's really doing that deeper dive into me and who I am and what is it that makes me happy, and just like, who am I today? Because now I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm not who I
Exactly.
was before. So it's a
Yeah.
bit of an exploratory time right now,
Hmm.
which is kind of
Hmm.
exciting in itself because, I don't mind trying new stuff, but I didn't want it to be this drastic of a curve, right? Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
yeah. So, but physically and mentally, um, I'm doing way better and it's
Yeah.
getting better every day. So I feel good about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And we are so happy that you
Mm,
are feeling better.
hmm.
Oh, there's so much I want to thank you first for sharing all of that.
Mm.
That's we've taken a while to get here,
We
but
have. Yeah.
I don't think the timing's perfect as it always
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure there are many people listening that will resonate with your journey. And
Hmm.
uh, I want to talk to you a bit
Hmm.
about the idea of asking and accepting for help, receiving help.
Hmm.
Um, it's so I could have talked about this 3 years ago when we started too. It just seems something that just gosh darn us humans aren't very good at receiving help.
No, we're not.
And it's I remember talking to another one of my guests way back, and she had gone through breast cancer.
Hmm.
And we asked about a gift that she'd received, and she talked about somebody that said prayers for her.
Mm,
And they were very religious, and she was not. And we had this conversation going, that doesn't matter.
mm-hmm.
It was this gift of prayer
Yeah.
and, the gift of ceremony
Mm-hmm.
and receiving those gifts. And it is not weak to receive. It's not weak
No.
to ask, and it's not weak to receive. Yet we're
Mm.
brought up that society says
Yeah.
that it is. You're not strong if
Mm-hmm.
you have to accept the gift.
Yeah.
And I'd love to just touch on that because that
Yeah.
feels so important.
It's, when we were growing up, like mom uh was all about church. Like we weren't a religious family by no means, but mom went through a period of time where church was important for her. And we went to every single church in the small town that we lived in. And oh, I remember hiding on mornings when mom was like on her, like, well, we're going to church. And I remember trying to hide from her and I never could. And I think that kind of put a taint on it, that when you're
Mhm.
forced to do something,
Mhm.
it usually you don't get out of it what you should be. My friends they're so different in every single way. I've
Mhm.
got friends who follow their cultural, their traditions,
Yeah,
whether it be First Nations or the Catholic Church. Some are, they don't believe in that whole spirituality sort of a thing.
yeah.
But that didn't, like, and I would be hesitant sometimes to say things because then I think, oh, they'll think I'm like just off my rocker sort of a thing. But they didn't. Like they were very accepting. And I think with society, we put so much focus on um, winning or being the end all to everything or getting, as far advanced in our careers as we can,
Yeah.
which means like higher in the ladder sort of a
Mhm.
thing. And that ladder climbing typically involves climbing over people. So
Mhm.
instead of um, you know being with people and doing it together as a team and lifting people up when they
Mhm.
deserve that lifting up,
Mhm.
instead of trying to beat, like we're always want to win. So instead of trying to
Mhm.
beat somebody, like walk alongside them. And we're every one of us is unique and have really good qualities, different qualities. We're not all the same, thank
Mhm.
goodness. We've got different qualities and we need to be able to be more, I think, appreciative, accepting of, and promoting
Mhm.
each other to lift each other up. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that like the spirituality, like I say, I wasn't born in my or raised in my culture, but
Mhm.
it's something that when I first started out working, um, that like working with mostly First Nations communities, I got a real appreciation for it. And I've seen the work that um, goes into being somebody who walks on that red road. That's not easy, not in this
Mhm.
society where, to stand out and be different, in the sense that we don't follow mainstream sort of a thing. Um, it's so empowering, and there's so much strength within those
Mhm.
people, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It's powerful. And if you just give an opportunity, you don't have to go to that, to being, like the, where, like you walk very rigid on that road, and not
Mhm.
rigid in a way that's bad, but you do what you need to do to follow those beliefs that you were raised with or
Mhm.
that you've learned. Like it means so much to me to have a friend who took time out of her day to come with me to
Mhm.
be with me and my family, and whatever, the other friends that were there, to be able to say a prayer for me and ask for that protection and
Yeah.
over not just me, but my family as well. And it just, it's just such a wonderful feeling. And that gratitude is something that um, I'll be grateful for a long time for um, their commitment to our relationship.
Hmm.
To
Hmm. Yeah.
everybody who's been on this journey with me, that
Hmm.
commitment to our relationship and looking to the future together is really
Hmm.
exciting. Like I find it
Nice.
exciting. Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it. I like that.
Hmm.
So then if we look to time, uh, um, there's the gift of time.
Hmm.
That's never really sort of come up in these conversations we've been having in this season, but it's this
Yeah.
taking the time is a gift for someone is a gift of time.
Yes. Yeah.
And whether that is just what you're saying there, it's just, whether that is in accompanying somebody to an appointment, uh,
Hmm.
taking the time to mention them in ceremony and hold them in their hearts in ceremony, um,
Yeah.
a text hello, any of that is a gift.
Yeah.
Time is a gift
It sure is.
in so
And
many ways.
yeah, like uh time for me right now is I appreciate and I look forward to every single second, minute, any
Hmm.
time that I get is a gift from here forward.
Yeah,
Like I still have to do all my follow-ups, and we all know with cancer, like it can come back at any time. But so I got the follow-ups, but I'm not focusing. I try not to focus on that. Um, it's there, it's in the back of my mind, but I can't let it come to be the present all the time or the only thing that I focus on because then
yeah.
if
Oh,
I keep if I focus too far on the forward all the time, then I miss what's right in front of me, which is family,
yeah,
friends,
yeah,
waking up to see the sun and the birds and, all of
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So it's really, really important to kind of be in that moment. Um,
Hmm.
and yes, look to the future. Like I'm glad I'm going to have that future, but
Hmm.
nothing's guaranteed. So we have to be able to appreciate what's here and now with us
Hmm.
and just be in that moment. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what I'm hearing is gratitude is a big part of of
Hmm.
what has changed in you.
Yeah.
Not that you weren't before,
No,
but it sounds like it's sort of come,
it's
it's
yeah, it's
bigger.
full force. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else in, say, your relationship with time or in just in you in general that you find has shifted?
I don't like I was a big like I have to know like I would have my schedule, like I say, like even going through the chemo, I had an agenda. I had a schedule.
Oh,
I
right.
needed to be done everything by September,
Yeah.
right? And so to like anything that would throw it off, like the blood counts not being right or whatever, like threw me for a loop because it's like, oh, that's going to mess up my plan, my
Mhm.
schedule, my time. So now it's like, um, time for me right now isn't as big of a focus. Like I'm not
Mm.
always looking at the clock, looking at, my day timer or whatever. I
Mm.
do look at my day timer every day, though
Mhm.
only because of all the appointments. It's
Of
not
course.
to
Yeah.
plan out my day. It's just to know what do I need to remember today,
True. Yeah.
because the with that memory loss thing, that's I still there's still a part of me that doesn't trust that will remember everything.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, but that's the only time that I look at my day timer is, when I
Mm,
to see
interesting.
if I've got anything going on that day. And then I can,
Okay.
make sure that, like I'll set timers for myself,
Yeah.
like an
Okay.
hour before an appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Smart.
that it
Yeah.
says, oh, you got an appointment time to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess
go ahead.
maybe with using the timers and stuff, because I'm feeling all of a sudden it's kind of like a bit of a oxymoron there, um, in that I look at time differently now. I use much like what I did with asking for help and things. This is me asking not a person, but it's asking technology to help me stay
Uh-huh.
on track to do what I need to do to make sure I get to my appointments. So,
Yeah, yeah. Using
yeah.
it as it was intended to be used.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we've been chatting for a bit, and
Mhm.
I've written a bunch down here, but I always do. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing that's written down, it keeps coming to me to share it, and I'm not sure where it'll take us, but
Okay.
if you could have a conversation with time right now,
Mhm.
what would that conversation look like?
Hmm. 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 I guess I kind of want to say, um, it's kind of more physical, like just saying thanks for forcing me to slow down. But the timing, I guess, of my health stuff, I look at it sometimes as being okay. So that was my body telling me I need to slow down because I was still going like 100 miles an hour.
Mhm.
But I guess the slowing down is good, but wanting to be able um, mm, to have that time with family, with friends. Um, and I'm torn between that, like what we were talking earlier about the Gregorian time, like the
Mhm. Mhm.
time in the sense of, tick tock, tick tock.
Human time, yeah,
Yeah,
linear, yeah,
or
yeah.
time in the kind of in the nether, like in the more emotional kind of physical part of it. It's like time, um, just time with the family, like time with the grandkids to really be able
Mhm.
to explore that uniqueness of each of them.
Mhm.
And, just to kind of plant and have those memories that,
Mhm.
will carry on with them, through their time in this world, right? To be able to look
Mhm.
back, like there's an end for all of us, right?
Yeah.
And so, uh, just, give me that time to be able to, uh, make those memories with the grandkids, the
Mm.
friends, the family, um, mend fences that need to be mended, like, being able to work on
Mhm.
relationships, um, both for myself and with others, because there's,
Mhm.
uh, there's things that I know that I want to still be able to work on, things that I still want to
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
So give me that time to get some of that done. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, interesting. I just think it's if we could all have a conversation, what would that conversation be, eh? At
Yeah.
any time in our life, what would that Oh,
Yeah.
that's one that's gonna sit with me for a bit too.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you
and I think
share?
it
Hmm?
changes, right? It changes depending
And it
on,
absolutely does,
yeah, it's
yeah. Yeah,
fluid. Yeah.
absolutely. Can you share before we sign off here?
Hmm.
Can you share something you shared with me before you left the house and how you left the house? And you know
Oh,
what I'm talking
yes.
about.
Yes. Now
It
I know.
was
Yeah.
so moving.
Yeah. That was a big moment. Like, buying the house was a big deal for me because I never ever thought I would be able to buy a house being a single mom. And somehow the bank agreed. So I was like, okay. So I talked about that familiarity of the house when I walked in there the first time. And it could have been falling down, but because it felt so familiar and so, I felt at home when I walked in there. And and I'd had, like, I grew up in that house. I learned how to be independent, how to be on my own, that I can do things on my own. I don't have to rely on a partner. I joke now that I'm choosing to be, a single person in my home. But it meant a lot to me. Like I say, I grew up, I learned how to be be me, and to be able to trust myself, and to be able to know that I'll be able to get through everything. So when I sold the house, the one of the I guess one of the reasons I told myself the time that I was selling was because I had, with the health and stuff that was going on, and not being able to give that house the love and care that it deserved. I said it was time for another family to be able to grow in this house in what's in a good way, that because I feel I left that house with really good energy. So the last day at the house before I handed in the keys, I went around to every single room in the house, and I thanked it for the living room for all the good conversations and being able to um, spend family time there. I thank the kitchen for being able to provide me with the ability to cook meals for the family, for myself, for friends. I went to the outside and thanked it for the um, the food that it provided me from the garden, the opportunity to be able to put my stamp on it, to be able to grow and watch things that I planted grow. I went to each and every bedroom and thanked it for the opportunity of providing me with a safe place to put my head down at night and to feel safe and close my eyes. I went to the basement and thanked the basement for providing me with the opportunity to bring in students into there, which provided me with a little bit of extra income to make ends meet. And then I went to the cold room and I started to thank it, and I just absolutely broke down crying. And I'm like, this is a weird place. Why am I getting so emotional about the cold room? But for me, the cold room represented um, sustenance. It represented my Baba, my grandmother, and my mom, because they were my role models in showing what a strong, independent woman can do by, you know, preserving everything that you've grown to help you get through the winter to the next summer. And that brought up so many emotions because it both passed on. So that strength still lives on in me, like through, like up from them through me. And that's what I try to pass on to my family, in trying to, keep our family together, because we are spread out all over the place. Like, our family isn't, um, we didn't settle in close proximity to each other. So my grandmother used to, she spent summers in Saskatchewan, fall in Alberta, and winters in BC, because she had children in each of those provinces. And she was the one that kept the family all together. Like, she would gather stories from each place, and then every time she would circle around back to Saskatchewan, we would hear all the stories of how the other family is doing. And that's what I do now. Yeah. So
Thank you.
time is precious. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we're not doing this on video.
Me too. I'm like, holy moly.
So thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for
This has been
all the
precious.
opportunities. Yeah.
And
And the
thank you all
friendship.
for Absolutely. I
Yeah.
thank you all for being here, for sharing this time with us. I think today I'm going to forego our usual closing
Yeah.
to say thank you all for listening and being here for
Mhm.
50 episodes.
Yes, that's
We are
amazing.
thankful. I am so thankful for that. And with that,
Mhm.
stay
Yeah.
inspired.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.